Good morning, everybody. Day 2 of the off-road build. Yesterday, if you watched the whole video, I've got most of the car done, all the way down to the back door here, the hood and the fender. I'm gonna work on the other fender this morning and the 2 other doors before I go back to the suspension system. We're going back to that later today. I kind of want to wake up all the way. It's not super early. It's already 8:30, but I didn't get to bed till later. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. My elbow is killing me. I think I have like golfer's elbow. It's really the tendons, the tendons that go from your fingertips to your elbow, and the inside of your elbow hurts. I just need to do a little bit of stretching. Sucks getting old. I'm going to show you how to do the fender. It's a little tricky because there's so many curves on this. You have this inside curve here, you have this area that comes all the way out here, and then where it meets the door. It's a little trickier. I'm going to show you what I did for that. This material is great to work with. You don't need a lot of heat. You can just pull on it and it'll stretch pretty good. You don't want to overstretch any material, but you can pull it and glass it out, and I'll show you that on the other side there. But the material from Avery is very forgiving. Yeah, I'll put you on a tripod right here, and I'll get this done. First of all, I'm going to take off this, and I'm going to try to take off this camera. I didn't do it on the other side, and I wish I would have, so I'm going to do that now. All right, so I've prepped out the panel. I put some masking tape on the light because, again, the vinyl does not stick well to masking tape, so it's going to slide easier here, because right here I'm going to slice the material so I can bring it this way, and then I can also bring it down this way. This Model Y is a little bit easier to wrap than the Model 3 because this went down farther on the Model 3 and there was just more of a gap there. Wiped out all the corners, all the edges. I've wiped down the logo here and everything that I need to. I removed this, and really you have to get underneath, and you can see right here and here are the points that hold it in place. You push those pins up, that forces it out, and then you bring it down from the front and it just pops right out and you just unhook it. I should have done that on the other side because that looks not as good over there, and I may redo that if I have enough material. I'm laying this here with some magnets just to hold it in place and making sure I have everything covered. This is the crucial point, these 2 points here, and then this is going to be more of a relaxed fit. So I'm going to take my razor blade and I'm going to cut out where the wheel is. We're going to go from there as far as, I'm going to obviously leave a little extra. And we also want to know where the material goes. And you can lift up the material to see. But I know the joint is right here. So I can come across here. Again, you don't want to cut too much. And this goes all the way to, well, that piece up here, you can barely see it. And I don't want to cut the car, so I'm going to go switch to this. Leave extra because we can. And we have this very large piece that we can use for something else. Take the backing off and kind of lay this on here. This part doesn't matter as much. It's really, you want to set this part, because remember, this goes over the edge here, so we want enough up here and we need enough down there. So I'm going to put 2 magnets on here to hold that in place so it doesn't slide, and then I'm going to pull the backing off. Then I'm going to take the rest of the bottom off and make sure I have enough down here. And kind of force this down, kind of set this in place. Take the magnets off, pull the material back, and then get the rest of the backing off. And that can lay here. Get my squeegee, and I'm going to start working this area down and then kind of move over. I have a little bit extra here, so I can bring this over, which is going to help me on that end. So as this is kind of pitched at an angle, I'm going to pull and kind of stretch a little bit. kind of wiggle it back and forth, kind of get out some of the grooves, the wrinkles. What heat does is shrinks the material. So if we hold this up, it's going to shrink this whole area, which is going to pull that way. If you heat and pull, you're going to stretch it. But I'm just holding it up. I'm going to let that cool, and then we're going to work the material up. Show you what I'm talking about here. I should have gave myself a little bit extra. I've cut it pretty short. I'm cutting it right on the edge of this anyway, but you see how it's bunched up a little bit, but there's no wrinkles in the material here. I shrunk it, and that's why all the wrinkles are back here, and then just worked it. You saw me just rubbing my finger back and forth as I pulled just a little bit, just gave tension just to flatten out that vinyl. Now this is going to be cool. You can see that this is where the side camera goes. Now if I just push this in there, it's not going to really stick because there's a lot of tension on this material right now. So I'm going to heat this up to release the memory, force it in there, which is not, it's not a huge recess, so that's good. You don't want to do huge recesses. I'm going to put the material in there and then let it cool, heat it up again to lock that memory in place. And there's not a hole, you don't need to heat up too much, but since we know that there is a hole in the middle, the air can release inside. And the line you see there is my PPF that's on the car still, so that's really all I need to go to, but we're going to cover this whole thing and bring all the air to the middle. See how soft it gets when you heat it up? This part's going to be cut out anyway. But now all the memory is gone, and all it remembers is the way it is right now. Poke in and ride the knife along the metal, not gouging into the metal at all. And there it is. After trimming everything up, this is what it looks like. You really focus on the corners, tuck everything really nice. Now we're going to let this set. I'm going to do these two doors, and then when I'm done, I'm going to heat up everything like I said before. I'm going to let it sit out in the sun, really get baked in there, and it's going to reveal all the problems. So I'm going to get to these two and then have some lunch, and then we're going to work on the suspension, and I'll bring you in with that. Now this is the coilover, and this is the spacer that I took off last night. Or that's the spacer that's going to go on here, which is just basically going to give this a body lift of 1 3/4 inches. So what I've done here is completely taken apart the suspension system. This is the sway bar linkage. With the kit, that blue piece bolts on, and it'll fit right up in here. And it basically would just give a little space and lift the vehicle up a little bit. Now we already know the height between the plastic and the center of the hub. We're going to measure that once we get everything back in place again and get the tires back on. I'm going to use that height plus the 1 3/4 inches to actually put this on its own weight, so we can, because what you want to do is these bolts down here, and I want to loosen this up. Those need to be tightened up at ride height, and the best way to do that is to put the jack underneath the car or underneath the suspension, compress the suspension to where the ride height is, and then tighten those things down. That's the safest way to do it. If you don't do that, those bushings are, especially the top one, is already set to be, well, lower than what it is, so it's going to be pressing a spring backwards, and it's going to wear those bushings out really quickly. Happens quite faster than you think. So for the longevity of the suspension and to get the proper ride height, we need to loosen those up. And then once I'm done with this, probably Monday or Tuesday, I'm going to contact Tesla and take it down there to have them align the vehicle, because once you take apart the suspension system, you're supposed to align it, especially if you adjust the height and everything. Before I button all this up and put everything back together, I'm going to take the wheel well out, the plastic wheel well, because right here is where the tire is going to rub, and I'm hoping I can either move something there or do something else, because you can see right here is where the tire scraped back and forth. All I did was turn the tires left to right, and it did rub there, and I don't want anything bad to happen there. So I'm going to take this off and see if I can do anything with that, and I'll let you know about it. So the way the spacer goes together is from up top you have to undo these 3 bolts, and then removing everything you can slide this out. Well, this spacer fits on top of there, and this needs to be bolted down. These nuts are supplied with some finagling. You can get these on there. I won't do that, won't bore you with that now, but I'll get those on there. And then it comes with these bolts as well, which will go from the top down into the threads. So that's what holds this in place, and everything else bolts right back up to it. So this is an easy way to lift your Model Y 1 3/4 inches. Basically the same setup on the back. This is made out of anodized aluminum, so it's not very heavy, but it's very, very strong. All right, so I got this on there. I'm going to take out the wheel well first, and then set up a GoPro so you can see what I'm doing. All right, this is going to be a little bit of a wrestling match, but the bottom of this needs to go over the axle right here, and then I need to compress the suspension enough to get it up into there. All right, we're good so far. All right, I'm gonna put the jack underneath this so we can put some pressure up into there, align the holes so the bolts hold this in place, and then I'll compress the suspension down and get the bottom bolt in. Now we'll open the frunk and see if I can line those holes up. One of the bolts down in there. Try to thread it by hand. Wow, the magnet trick kind of works here. There we go. So I've got a little bit of threads there. What I'm going to do is release the jack. That holds the strut up in place, and then I can wiggle this around a little bit to, you see, that's got to go down quite a bit. Right now, we need to compress the suspension to get that lower bolt in there, which is very difficult. I'm not going to lie. This has to go back inside here, and then we need to loosen these up. Put everything to the right height, bolt it down. And again, I'm just an idiot on YouTube. Follow directions when you get stuff. I'm going off of the directions that I remember. But if you don't feel comfortable doing this, don't do this. Makes sense, right? I think it's loose. As you can tell, I like to have fun with these projects. Well, that was a struggle before. Now for the rear. The rear is a little different. This has a different kind of bushing because this fits up into the into above the spring, and then this is just to dampen the sound of the spring, but we use the stock spring just like on the front. And then these are spacers for the top of the shock, so it adjusts everything properly. And what you do is you remove the plate that goes over this bracket here. This is just all this is. Same thing on the Model 3. It makes it more aerodynamic. It's more flush when it's level. Well, this isn't going to be level anymore, but we're going to remove this nut and this one. This one's for the shock, and then this one's for the bottom of the, I don't even know what this is, but we're going to drop this down to release the spring. We're going to need the jack again so this thing doesn't come shooting out and the spring doesn't hit us. Once we give a little pressure on it, is remove the shock out of the way completely. I forget, I think those are 15 or 18. You don't have to remove this. I did originally when I test fit this for them, but you can with an extension. You don't have to worry about them falling to the ground like that. All right. Whew. Get that out of the way, and then we can push down and pull the spring right out. This is gonna fit right up in there. That way we know we have it in the right position. Oh gosh. And try not to smash your hands. Oh gosh, you gotta reposition here. Make sure you got the rubber gasket on there so it doesn't squeak. Real nice. And then you lift up. All right. So for the shock now, we're going to remove these bolts and we're going to replace them with these longer bolts. So I put that spacer, or I put that thread piece back there. It's going to hold it in place. And the reason we do that is because we have these spacers that go on here, and now we can bolt up. We have the same amount of threads, and we can bolt this into place. And now this is longer, because otherwise, if you don't have this the right length, you're going to wear these out much quicker. Now this is going to work really good. So I'll bolt everything back up. Same way I unbolted it, but this time at ride height, we do have to loosen multiple things here. We want to loosen all these up and then tighten them back up again. Again, with the same system on the front, there's just a little bit more here. So now you can see how much of a curve this actually is here. And it did a good job of wrapping around this, and I'm pleased with this. It's just we have a lot of material here now. So I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start from the middle and work my way out. So this is gonna be a tricky part, and of course the other side. So I'm just going to work my way down, and I can stop right here. I'm not doing this section with this piece, so it's not too short. You can see how it springs back a little bit already. So I'm very, very pleased with how this is coming out. Okay, I was wrong. Remember when I said this was going really well? It wasn't. This is a complete compound curve. It is ridiculous. The stretch that's here, and then you need to stretch back here. I had so much bunched up right here and so much bunched up right here. I got it to work. I think I stretched it a little too much. Time will tell if it's gonna be any good or not. Might have to do this again, but I'll come up with a better solution, I think. It's on. It took me a long time. So I turned the camera off. This is hopefully by far the hardest piece that I've had to do, or that I will do. All right, so I've got the back done. So this whole side is done. Actually, most of the side's done. I just got to do that. I think that's it for today. If I get a burst of energy, I might do the other side. But right now I'm filthy. I'm gonna get cleaned up, and it's been a long day. It gets longer for me than for you. Tomorrow we're gonna get on the rest of the suspension, put the tires on the car, maybe take it down the road a little bit and see how it rides. So stay tuned for the next episode. Should be tomorrow. But as always, stay awesome, stay positive, and make sure you subscribe to this. And let me know if you like these. Let me know if you like these vlogs and how my day is going building this thing in secret, because you've already seen the final product. This is just what's going up to the final product in my thought process and what I run into, all the problems I run into, and things I might change. Anyway, more to come. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Stay awesome and stay positive. I'll see you.